Kelly Hushin, editor of the TradeTech blog, and I'm here at TradeTech USA at the Javits Center, and I'm here with Peter Nabick from Alston Trading. Welcome.
Thanks.
So can you tell us a little bit about your firm? Where do you guys come from, and what's your experience in the market?
Sure. Alston Trading is a proprietary trading company located in Chicago. We trade in markets across the world. We have London and office in London as well, and we trade cross asset class. We trade equities, options, FX, cash, futures.
And how big is the firm?
About 130 people.
Okay, great. So you gave a presentation this morning. We're here at the Buy-Side/HFT Summit, and you kind of gave a presentation about what HFT is really all about. How do we define it? So I guess the first natural question is, what is HFT all about, and how do we define it? I know we're kind of getting past that in the U.S. here, but you know it's always good to lay out the.
Well, it's coming up more and more. Because as it becomes more of a regulatory topic, you need to have a concrete definition. The vast amount of definitions that are out there are anecdotal. If you look online, if you read newspaper articles about this, industry press about it, even if you try to take someone's opinion or editorial and pull from that what their definition of high-frequency trading is, what you find most of the time is that it has something to do with low latency. It has something to do with a lot of order entry. It has something to do with technology and automation. But what you rarely find in the definitions is that it has anything at all to do with actually trading a lot. I mean, the very name itself, high-frequency trading, implies this is trading that happens a lot.
Right.
But most of the definitions include things like go home flat at the end of the day, which I can do trading a one lot of one equity, twice. Or submits and cancels massive amounts of orders. Submitting and canceling massive amount of orders is something that some algorithms do, but that's not actually trading a lot. You could do that all day and never trade. So
what's the problem then with this definition, crisis?
Well, the problem with all the definitions that have been out there, and the problem with the anecdotal definitions we use, is that now more and more regulators are feeling the need to at least take a position on high-frequency trading. And when you take the anecdotal and try to create regulations around that, you have some issues. So high-frequency trading, the name itself is arbitrary.
Right.
The things that go along with that, low latency, well, how low?
Right.
Trading a lot, well, how much is a lot? Canceling a lot, how much is canceling a lot? How big of a position counts as an at-risk position? When you take all of these things into account, you're dealing with the arbitrary. And what you need to do when you're dealing with regulation is deal with the very specific.
Right. So a lot of moving parts. We have to better define them, it seems.
Yeah, we do. And so the question becomes, and this is what a lot of my presentation was about, is that do you really want to have high-frequency trading be part of regulation or just part of the general discussion? If you're using high-frequency trading as part of the general discussion in the industry, you're just setting up a framework within which we can have a shared context. Mm-hmm. So to that end, I say that high-frequency trading is simply trading. It's the natural evolution of trading behavior. And it is made possible by technology.
Right.
And most recent technology means that we can trade more products and more of each of those products than we ever could before.
Do you think that defining high-frequency trading too strictly would sort of cause problems in the future because technology is just going to continue to evolve?
Yes, certainly. If you define, for general discussion, no, because it can be evolutionary. You can say, well, anything less than 5 milliseconds, and then 6 months later, if we're just generally discussing it, you can say anything less than 2.5 or anything less than 100 likes. But if you're talking about regulation, I question whether or not we really even want to define high-frequency trading for regulation. Like the FIA, Futures Industry Association Principal Traders Group, wrote in response to Commissioner O'Malley's request for a definition. High-frequency trading in and of itself is arbitrary, so let's talk about the more specific things. If we're actually concerned about the risk of direct connect participants, then we should define direct connect participants. If we're concerned about the risk of too many messages in the market, then we need to define what's too many messages. Neither of those things requires a definition of high-frequency trading. For example, I could message all day and never trade. I'm not trading with high frequency, but I'm messaging a lot.
Right.
So all those things need to be taken into account. I think for just a general conversation on the marketplace, let's talk about high-frequency trading. I guess we can kind of have that phrase out there. The big problem is that normally, the way you do go about defining something is there is a general shared opinion in society as to what something means.
Right.
And then you put a formal definition around it, and then eventually it actually gets taken over by stereotypes, and the definition gets pulled away from its original point, and then there becomes a battle of how people use it and what it actually means.
Right.
Well, we're going about it completely wrong. We have no shared opinion as to what high-frequency trading means. Just Google high-frequency trading and look at all the different definitions. Stereotypes have already taken over the word. It's already been pulled out and used to mean all sorts of things, usually driven by fear. Mm-hmm. And now we're trying to define it. And I'm not sure how productive that will be.
Right. So then what do you think the answer is in terms of regulation? I mean, like you said, there already is stereotypes. I've seen 60 Minutes and 2020 plugs about high-frequency trading showing the consumer that this is this crazy behavior that's going on and just kind of painting a somewhat cynical picture of the action. So what is the answer? Do we regulate it and then maybe people will better understand it as a whole, or should we just kind of not ever regulate it?
No, I think with all regulation you need to say what is the issue that we're trying to regulate, what are we trying to monitor, what are we trying to put a legal framework around in the marketplace, and then define that, and that isn't just one thing, it would be multiple things, and then create the regulations to approach those.
Right.
And I think that the problem with high-frequency trading is because it has been taken over by different stereotypes, when you sit back and look at it, it's very hard to define it without taking into account all the different opinions and stereotypes. So now you have one large nebulous cloud that you're trying to define. And I don't know if that's how you write good regulation. I think you write regulation towards the problem you're trying to solve. And so that's how I would approach it, is take the base problems you're trying to solve, whether it be 2 or 3 or 20, and approach all of those separately, as opposed to trying to lump them into a consolidated high-frequency trade.
Can you tell us what you've enjoyed about TradeTech, what you've learned, what you've liked?
TradeTech, this TradeTech USA is the first conference I've been to that actually has informal discussion based around the panels and the presentations that are going on. There is nothing better for making sure that this industry is a sustainable one and that the markets are well done and well monitored and well controlled than putting really smart people in a room and letting them talk about the issues that are at hand. And this is allowing for that.
Would you make the argument that all traders have the ability to do this? It's just about access to technology? Because I've heard arguments that, this is just a natural evolution of trading, and, back 50 years ago, people were all in a huff about, things not being done in person, and, now that everyone's in a huff about things being done in 2 milliseconds. So do you think everyone has equal access to this technology, and it's really not about that, or is there an unfair sort of access?
No, there's no unfair access. Everyone has access that is driven by their own capital investment that they choose to do. If you choose to be the fastest in the industry, you make that capital investment and you do it. If you choose to rely primarily on strategy and you maybe don't need to be the fastest, you invest your capital wisely in that sense. I can tell you what it does do, though, is the capital is not always prohibitive to be a player. What was prohibitive in the pit was how many people could be on the top step.
Right.
There was a geographic confining of who can be on that top step. There is no confining of who can be in the data center. I mean, granted, the data centers are only so big, but most of them are not full to capacity.
Right.
The CME one that was just built out, they're starting phase 2 of the build out, which means there's plenty more room. The Nicey Life data center in Mawa is huge and not full yet either. There's plenty of space, much more than there ever was on the top floor of the pit.
Got it. Okay. Well, it's interesting to talk about this. It's evolved even so much from last year, so I'm excited to talk to more people about it. But thank you so much for being here and for presenting today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
No problem. Thank you.
All right.